Thanks for joining me today as I review the #1 New York Times bestseller, Switch: How to Change Things When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath, who are also the best-selling authors of Made to Stick. I chose this book because I am currently going through a substantial change in my life, from full-time director of communications to part-time contract employee and part-time stay-at-home mom. What I learned from the book was very helpful as I am making my transition. In this book, the authors are clear that no matter the change, if you want to see success, you must first direct the writer, that's our rational side. Second, motivate the elephant, that's our emotional side. And third, shape the path. What does all of that mean? First, let's tackle the writer. The main takeaway I found regarding the writer was this: what looks like resistance is often a lack of clarity. This is why it is so important for the writer to have crystal clear direction and insight. For a manager or leader in an organization, maybe you have been struggling with an employee who is underperforming, and you believe that you have made a bad hire. Based on this book, your assumption may not be accurate. Sometimes what looks like a people problem is oftentimes a situation problem. Switch gives the example of a manager whose employees saw her as standoffish because when they approached her in her office, she would never turn away from the computer, which made the employees feel like whatever she was doing on the computer was much more important than the issues they were bringing to her. This wasn't the case at all. It wasn't that the manager had an issue with her employees or that she didn't care about them. She simply had a need to redecorate. See, her computer was placed on her desk in a way that made it impossible to meet with employees without the computer, email, to-do lists staring her in the face. Once she heard grumblings from her employees and realized that this was the case, she made a change. She reorganized her office to shift her computer to another location and also brought in a couch to make the office feel more inviting to her employees. This change may seem simplistic, but it was highly effective for this manager and her team. Here's another example of a situation problem, not a people problem. Two health researchers wanted to persuade people in West Virginia to eat healthier, but they knew that they needed to give clarity and crystal clear instructions on how to make that happen. As they brainstormed, they kept coming back to milk, something most Americans drink, but something that is very high in saturated fat. What they came up with was a public health campaign in West Virginia to encourage people to buy 1% milk instead of whole milk. The outcome? Before the campaign, the market share of low-fat milk was 18%, but after the campaign, it was 41%. The writer must have crystal clear directions if you want him to make a change. Next, let's take a look at the elephant. The elephant is critical to successful change because anytime the elephant and the writer disagree, the elephant is going to win out. He has a much more power and stature than the writer. What motivates the elephant is emotion. Chip and Dan Heath tell us that in almost all successful change efforts, the sequence of change is not analyze, think, change, but rather see, feel change. We also learn from this book that hope is precious to change effort. The authors give the example of Dave Ramsey, who is a popular personal finance guru. Ramsey's approach to clearing debt involves listing out all debt and starting from the least expensive and moving towards the most expensive. He doesn't believe that an individual should focus on interest rates at all. Instead, his philosophy has the individual getting small wins. Small wins build hope that the person can, in fact, get out of debt. And once a small debt is gone, that person now has more money to put towards the next debt in the line. Dave Ramsey says that sometimes motivation is more important than math. The elephant is more important than the writer in this case. With this debt snowball tactic, Ramsey helps his clients shrink the change. He makes change seem possible and gives them hope. Another example of shrinking the change is Alcoholics Anonymous. The message coming from this group is not never drink again or make it a whole year without drinking and then let's see what's next. Instead, the single message that is heard over and over again at AA meetings is one day at a time. It works if you work it. One day at a time. That phrase has shrunk the change for an alcoholic. It doesn't seem as daunting of a task to get through 24 hours as it does to tell an alcoholic never to pick up a drink again. Hope. It's critical for the elephant. Finally, the authors of Switch tell us that if you want people to change, you have to make the journey easier. Tweaking the environment is about making the right behaviors a little bit easier and the wrong behaviors a little bit harder. One example given in Switch was that of an IT company who wanted to reduce new product development time from 3 years to 9 months. This was a substantial goal for the company, and in order to make this happen, they had to make the path as easy as possible for the employees. What they found was that the current path for their employees was being interrupted often. Bosses coming by to check on status updates, other employees interrupting with questions and small talk, etc. If they were going to meet this significant goal, they needed uninterrupted work time for their employees. Subsequently, management initiated quiet hours on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings before noon. The result was happier employees and more efficient employees who ultimately did meet their 9-month production goal. Thankfully, these leaders understood the importance of reshaping the path for their employees. Another example is portion size. If someone is interested in losing weight, one thing they can do to shape their path to a healthier route is to change their plate size. Pass up on the large dinner plates and routinely eat off of salad plates. Studies have found that people are going to eat what is in front of them, and when more food is in front of them, more food will be consumed. This small path change shrinks the change for the person wanting to lose weight because it's easier to not eat the food when it's not on your plate. So for someone in strategic communications, the main takeaway from this book is the importance of clear and concise messages. Think back to the milk example. It isn't enough to say, be healthy or eat better. The researchers in this example were successful because they were clear in their message. Drink 1% milk. There was no gray area in what they wanted people to do. As strategic communicators, we have to also be this deliberate. It's not enough to tell a company they need to rebrand or share their messages via the media. Instead, we have to give concrete examples and step-by-step instructions to help our clients succeed. I really think anyone can benefit from this book, whether you are a manager in a company, someone wanting to lose weight, a worker on a production line, or someone with an addiction problem. This book will prove that change is possible, and although it is hard, sometimes it can also be quite simple if we just direct our rider, motivate our elephant, and shape our path.